Hi everyone, how is it going? Today I shall be continuing the read of Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. I shall continue from where I left, and that is, I think, from page number 14. I remember finishing page number 14, so let's continue from page 15. Page 15. Okay. That I don't recall any of this means only one thing: none of it happens. Yet the book has followed me for most of my life. I have always been the freaky girl who once lived in a haunted house. In grade school I was an outcast, and therefore had to be avoided at all costs. In high school I was still an outcast. Only by then it was some old goal which made me the most reluctantly popular girl in my class. Then came college, when I thought things would change, as if being away from my parents would somehow extricate me from the book. Instead, I was treated as a curiosity. Not shunned exactly, but either befriended warily or studied from afar. Dating sucked. Most boys wouldn't come near me. The majority of those who did were House of Horror fanboys, more interested in Baneberry Hall than in me. If a potential boyfriend showed an ounce of excitement about meeting my father, I knew the score. Now, I treat any potential friend or lover with a hearty dose of skepticism. After one too many sleepovers spent having a Ouija board thirst at me, or dates that ended at a cemetery with me being asked if I saw any ghosts among the graves, I can't help but doubt people's intentions. The majority of my friends have been around for ages. For the most part, they pretend the book doesn't exist. And if a few of them are curious about my family's time in Baneberry Hall, they know enough not to ask me about it. All these years later, my reputation still precedes me, even though I don't think of myself as famous. I'm notorious. I get emailed from strangers calling my dad a liar, or saying they'll pray for me, or seeking ways to get rid of the ghost they're certain is trapped in their cellar. Occasionally I'll be contacted by a paranormal podcast or one of those ghost hunter shows, asking me for an interview. A horror convention recently invited me to do a meet and greet alongside one of the kids from the Amityville house. I declined. I hope the Amityville kid did as well. Now here I am, tucked into a squeaky chair in Bacon Hill law office, still reeling from emotional whiplash weeks after my father's death. My current mood is one part prickliness, thanks Bunty Davenport. Bunty Davenport is the one who is a receptionist, by the way, at this law office, and she asked Maggie, the narrator right now, that how was her experience at Baneberry Hall, which she lived when she was a child, and it said that it is supposedly haunted, so yeah. And 2 parts grief. Across the desk, an estate attorney details the many ways in which my father continued to profit off the book. Sales had continued at an agreeably modest pace, with an annual spike in the weeks leading up to Halloween. Hollywood had continued to call on a semi-regular basis, most recently with an option that my father never bothered to tell me about, to turn it into a TV series. Your father was very smart with his money, Arthur Rosenfeld says. His use of the past tense brings a kick of sadness. It's another reminder that my father is truly gone and not just on an extended trip somewhere. Grief is tricky like that. It can lie low for hours, long enough for magical thinking to take hold. Then, when you're good and vulnerable, it will leap out at you like a funhouse skeleton, and all the pain you thought was gone comes roaring back. Yesterday, I was hearing my father's favorite band on the radio. Today, it's being told that as my father's sole beneficiary, I'll be receiving roughly $400,000. The amount isn't a surprise. My father told me this in the weeks preceding his death. An awkward but necessary conversation, made more uncomfortable by the fact that my mother chose not to seek a share of profits from the book when they got divorced. My father begged her to change her mind, saying she deserved half of everything. My mother disagreed. I don't want any part of it, she would snap during one of their many arguments about the matter. I never did from the very beginning. So I get it all, the money, the rights to the book, the infamy. Like my mother, I wonder if I'd be better off with none of it. Then there's the matter of the house, Arthur Rosenfeld says. What house? My father had an apartment. Bainbury Hall, of course. Surprise jolts my body. The chair I am in squeaks. My father owned Bainbury Hall. He did. The lawyer says. He bought it again. When? Arthur places his hand on his desk, his fingers stapled. As far as I know, he never sold it. I remain motionless, stilled by shock, letting everything sink in. Bainbury Hall, the place that allegedly so terrified my family that we had no choice but to leave, has been in my father's possession for the past 25 years. I assume he either couldn't get rid of it, possible considering the house's reputation, or didn't want to sell it, which could mean any number of things, none of which makes sense. All I know for certain is that my father never told me he still owned it. Are you sure? I say, hoping Arthur has made some terrible mistake. Positive. Bainbury Hall belonged to your father, which means it's now yours. Lock, stock, and barrel, as they say. I suppose I should give you these. Arthur places a set of keys on the desk and pushes them towards me. There are two of them. There are two of them, both attached to a plain key ring. One opens the front gate and the other the front door, he says. I stare at the keys, hesitant to pick them up. I'm uncertain about accepting this part of my inheritance. I was raised to fear Bainbury Hall for reasons that are still unclear to me, even though I don't believe my father's official story. Owning the house doesn't sit well with me. Then there's the matter of what my father said on his deathbed, when he pointedly chose not to tell me he still owned Bainbury Hall. What he did say now echoes through my memory, making me shiver. It's not safe there, not for you. Then why did he give? Why didn't he sell it? That's a good question. When I finally grab the keys, they feel hot in my hand, as if Arthur had placed them atop the radiator. I curl my fingers around them, their teeth biting into my palm. That's when I'm hit with another wallop of grief. This time it's tinged with frustration and more than a little disbelief. Father's dead. He withheld the truth about Bainbury Hall for my whole life. Now I own the place, which means all its ghosts whether real or imaginary, are mine as well, are mine as well, are mine as well. Okay, now we jump right back into the book that his father wrote, called as House of Horrors. May 20, May 20, the door, May 20, the door, May 20, the door. We knew what we were getting into. To claim otherwise would be an outright lie. Before we chose to buy Bainbury Hall, we had been told its history. The property has quite the past, believe you me, said a realtor, a bird-like woman in a black power suit named Janie June Jones. There's a lot of history there. I'm sorry, I think I heard something. Okay, anyways. We were in Janie June's silver Cadillac, which she drove with the aggressiveness of someone steering a tank. At the mercy of her driving, all Jess, Maggie and I could do was hang on and hope for the best. Good or bad, I said, as I tugged my seatbelt, making sure it was secure. A little of both. The land was owned by William Carson, a lumberman, richest man in the town. He's the one who built Bainbury Hall in 1875. Jess piped up from the back seat, where she sat with her arms wrapped protectively around her daughter. Bainbury Hall, that's an unusual name. I suppose it is, Janie June said as she steered the car out of town in a herky-jerky manner that made the Cadillac constantly veer from one side of the lane to the other. Mr. Carson named it after the plant. The story goes that when he bought the land, the hillside was covered in red berries. Townsfolk said it looked like the entire hill was awash in blood. I glanced at Janie June from my spot in the front passenger seat, checking to confirm that she could indeed see over the steering wheel. Isn't Bainbury poisonous? It is, both the red and the white kind. So, not an ideal place for a child, I said, picturing Maggie rapidly curious and ravenously hungry, popping a handful of red berries into her mouth when you weren't looking. Many children have lived quite happily there over the years, Janie June said. The entire Carson clan lived in that house until the Great Depression, when they lost their money just like everyone else. The estate was bought by some Hollywood producer who used it as a vacation home for him and his movie star friends. Clark Gable stayed there. Carol Lombard too. Janie June swerved the car off the main road and onto a gravel drive cutting between two cottages perched upon the edge of an imposing Ormond woods. Compact and tidy, both were of similar size and shape. The cottage on the left had yellow sidings, red shutters, and blue curtains in the windows. The one on the right was deep brown and more rustic, its cedar siding making it blend in with the forest. Those were also built by Mr. Carson, Janie June informed us. He did it about a year after the construction of the main house. One cottage for Bainbury Hall's housekeeper and another for the caretaker. That is still the case today, although neither of them exclusively works for the property. But they are available on an as-needed basis if you ever get overwhelmed. She drove us deeper into the forest of pines, maples, and stately oaks, not slowing until a wrought iron gate blocking the road appeared up ahead. Seeing it, Janie June pounded the brakes. The Cadillac fishtailed to a stop. Here we are. It rose before us, tall and imposing. Flanking it was a 10-foot stone wall that stretched into the woods in both directions. Jess eyed it all from the back seat with barely concealed concern. That's a bit much, don't you think? She said. Does that wall go around the entire property? It does, Jenny June said as she put the car in park. Trust me, you'll be thankful it's there. Why? Janie June ignored the question, choosing instead to fish through her purse, eventually finding a ring of keys. Turning to me, she said, Mind helping an old lady out, Mr. Holt? Together we left the car and opened the gate, Janie June taking care of the lock while I pulled the gate open with a loud, rusty groan. Soon we were in the car again, passing through the gate and starting up a long drive that wound like a corkscrew up an unexpectedly steep hill. As we twisted higher, I caught flashing glimpses of a building through the trees. A tall window here, a slice of ornate rooftop there. Bainbury Hall. After the movie stars came and went, the place became a bed and breakfast, Janie June said. When that went belly up after 3 decades, it changed hands quite a few times. The previous owners lived here less than a year. Why such a short time? I said. Again, the question went ignored. I would have pressed Janie June for an answer had we not at the moment crested the hill, giving me my first full view of Bainbury Hall. 3 stories tall, it sat heavy and foreboding in the center of the hilltop. It was a beautiful structure, stone-walled and majestic, the kind of house that made one gasp, which is exactly what I did as I peered through the buck-specked windshield of Janie June's Cadillac. It was a lot of house, far bigger than what we really needed, or under normal circumstances could afford. I had spent the past 10 years in magazines, first freelancing at a time when the pay was good, then as a contributing editor at a publication that folded after 19 issues, which forced me to return to freelancing at a time when the pay was lousy. With each passing day, Maggie grew bigger while her apartment seemed to get smaller. Jess and I handled it by arguing a lot. About money, mostly. And the future. And which one of us was passing the most negative traits on to our daughter. We needed space. We needed a change. We needed a change. We needed a change. And it is safe to say that he did get a change, for better or for worse. What do you think? Anyways, that was all for today's book read. I hope you enjoyed this really small reading session. Okay then, take care, lovely person of planet Earth, and I shall see you in my next video. Bye bye.